Hi. So I would like to finish chapter 6 and go on to 7 and 8. There is a good chance that I will stop after 7 and do 7 and 8 separately because chapter 8 is a very long chapter. Okay, so we're dealing with two names. So far we have the name Shittim, which is the city from which the Israelites came into Eretz Israel. And we're dealing with Yericho, where the Kohanim were told with the people to surround the city once every day and 7 times on the seventh day. Okay, and we're on the seventh day, and the people are shouting, and they sound the shofar. And when everybody hears the shofar, they were just screaming louder, and the walls fell, and the people went into the city and they conquered the city. And they took everything in the city, people, men, women, children, older people, all the animals. It's total destruction. It looks horrible. In those days, it had to be, because there was always a chance, a likelihood of disease and epidemic. So they kill everybody, and they're not allowed to touch anything. The end of the chapter, the two people that went to spy the city, Joshua says, go to the lady, the prostitute, and take everybody with her family, just like we promised and swore to do. And they come to Rachav, and they take her father, her mother, her brother, everything that she has, her family, and they put everything just outside the camp of the Israelites. Then they burn the city. Again, we don't know why. Archaeologists assume that they burn it to prevent disease and epidemic. And they didn't take anything out of the city. Whatever they took, they bring to the temple. They bring to the house of the Lord. So if they took copper and steel and gold and silver, they took it to the house of the Lord. And Rachav and her family, Joshua let live, just like he promised. And she lived in amongst the Israelites because she hid the messengers, the spies, when that Joshua sent. And Joshua swore against the city. He said, Arur ha'ish lifnei Hashem asher yakumu v'nai et ha'ir hazot. Cursed be the man that rises up and rebuilds the city of Jericho. With the loss of his firstborn shall he lay the foundation, and with the loss of his youngest shall he set up the gates of the city. In other words, even his children will suffer. And Yoshua, in the meanwhile, is very successful, and his name, his fame and his name are all over the land. We are now going on to chapter 7. But the children of Israel committed a sin. They did take from the possessions of the people of Jericho, and a man by the name Achan, the son of Carmi ben Zavdi ben Zerach of Judah, he took stuff that he wasn't allowed to take. And Joshua sent people from Jericho to the city of Ai. Remember that name, Jericho to Ai. So Jericho is the first city to be conquered, and Ai is the next one. It is beside Bet Aven on the east side of Bet El. So we know Jericho, Ai, and they're near Bet El, and that's a city that you know from Bereshit. And go up and spy out the land. And the men went up and spied out the city of Ai. So he sent spies a second time. The first time was Jericho, and now Ai. They returned to Joshua and said, let's not go up against Jericho. Let about 2,000 or 3,000 people go up and hit Jericho. And don't send everybody because Ai is a small city. So they went there and they took 3,000 people and they were defeated and ran away from the people of Ai. And the people of Ai killed 36 people and they ran after them from the gate to Shevarim, Shever, Lishbor, to break, and smote them at the descent, and the hearts of the people melted. They were very disheartened. They thought Joshua, the victory at Jericho, now God is with them and everything is good. But something happened. What was the something? Achan touched some of the stuff from Jericho against the command. And Joshua tore his clothing and he fell up on earth and before the ark and until the evening, and the elders of Israel, and they put dust upon their heads. So there was severe mourning. They were very sad about what happened. And Joshua says to God, why? Why did you let us cross the Jordan River that we should be killed by the Amorites? We should be killed by the Amorites. We could have stayed on the other side of the Jordan. Please, God, what do you say when the backs of the children of Israel are turned to their enemies? Namely, they were running away. And everybody heard that you were not with us anymore, and they jumped on us, and they destroyed us, and they destroyed our name. And now, what's going to be about your name, God? Okay, so destroyed a few people here, but everybody's going to say that you couldn't bring them into the city, and it's going to reflect on you and not the people. And the Lord said unto Joshua, get up, and don't mourn anymore. Israel sinned, and that is why this happened to you. They have transgressed. Okay, I told them not to touch anything from Jericho, and they took stuff and put it in their dishes, their utensils, and Bnei Israel could not fight their enemy when they were sinning because God wasn't with them. So I will not be with you. I will not be with you anymore unless you destroy those who took from the forbidden stuff in Jericho. And God commands Joshua to get up and sanctify the people, purify them. And he said, there is forbidden stuff amongst the Israelites, and you will not be able to conquer your enemies until you remove that forbidden stuff that happened in Jericho. And in the morning, your tribes will get together, and whichever tribe is going to be identified as having stolen stuff from Jericho is going to have to, they're going to have each family checked out. So the tribes will be checked, then the family of the tribe that's identified, the houses, until we're going to find the man who took stuff that was forbidden. And whoever is caught as the person who violated is going to be burned by fire, him and all his possessions, because they transgressed, they sinned, and they took stuff from what God told you not to take. And Yeshua gets up in the morning, ding dong, and he takes Israel and puts them according to their tribes. And the tribe of Judah was identified as having sinned. And then every family in Judah and the family of Zarchi, and when the family came up, Zavdi was identified, and Achan ben Carmi ben Zavdi of Yehuda was the one who was identified as having taken from the forbidden stuff from Jericho. And Yeshua says to Achan, my son, give, I pray you, glory to God, the God of Israel, and confess. I guess Joshua is hoping that God will forgive. confess what you have done. Don't hide anything, because we know that you are the one who did it. And Achan told Joshua, indeed, I am the one who sinned to God, the God of Israel, and such did I do. And I saw something, a mantle, and 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, and I coveted them. That means I wanted them. I had a lust for them. I wanted them, and I took them, and I hid them, and it's in my tent, under it. Yoshua sent messengers, and they run to the tent, and indeed they find the forbidden stuff. They take it from the tent, and they bring it to Joshua, and they lay them down before God. And Joshua takes Achan and the money and the clothing that he took and the gold and his family and his animals, his ox and his donkey and his sheep and his tent, everything, and they took them out from the valley of Achor. Achor is a name, and it means kind of a rejected, like a reject. And Yoshua says to him, why did you do this? Why did you bring trouble upon all of us? And now God is going to have to punish you for it. And all Israel stoned him, and they burned them with fire and stoned them with stones. And they raised over him a great heap of stones, like a monument. And it remained there to show God's anger, and they called the name of it Emek Achor, the valley of Achor, and Achan and his family were there. We're going to stop here, and we'll do a separate recording for chapter 8.